Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to take a short detour and learn about Synergic Mig Welding. Now, how many of you know what Synergic Mig Welding is? Well, I certainly didn't, and I'm going to tell you what I know about it. And if you have some other information to share, please leave it in your comments below. And while you're at it, consider subscribing. All right, let's get on with it, and you'll learn more about Synergic Mig Welding. All right, guys, so here's the question for today. Who knows what Synergic Mig Welding is? Anybody? How about you in the back? You know? No, I didn't either. How about you up front? Synergic Mig Welding. You want to hazard a guess? I see a couple hands, some people know what it is. Well, that's good. If you've got a modern, i.e. MIG welder manufactured in the last, 8 or 10 years, you probably know what you've at least seen the control or read about it in your instruction manual. Now, I saw a YouTube video of another auto body man explaining exactly what Synergic MIG Welding is, and he rambled on for about 18 minutes. And when he got done, I still didn't know what Synergic MIG Welding was. I mean, he was talking Chinese physics or something when he was explaining, this and that and the other. And I was like, what? What? Are you speaking English, son? Anyway, I'll give you the simple heads up about what Synergic MIG Welding is. All right, but let's turn around and let you see my welder here, if I can get it in frame. Let's see, there it is. There she is. I don't know, does the MIG welders have a gender? Everything else seems to, whether it's real or made up. All right, this is my welder, guys, and it's a 6-process welder, which amazes me because when I had my first MIG welder, all it did was spit out wire and generate sparks. And that's, well, no, it actually did a couple other things. It had a spot weld feature that was real handy if you were doing, filling plug welds, and it had a stitch feature that I thought was going to be pretty handy, but the problem with the stitches is if you don't spread them out far enough in a line, you're going to get a lot of heat, and you chance warpage of your panel. So I didn't use the stitch much, but the spot weld I did from time to time. You could always put air on it to cool it. All right, but this welder will do stick welding. It'll do gas MIG. It'll do gasless MIG. It'll do spool welding, aluminum, if you have the shielding gas for it. It'll do lift TIG, which I've never done. It'll do MMA. I'm not sure what that is. I've never done it. It'll do 6 different processes, which is pretty cool. These controls are just like any other MIG. This controls the wire speed, and this adjusts the heat, the voltage, the heat, amperage, whatever you want to call it. And that's pretty much it. I mean, my main purpose is MIG, so that's what we'll stick. But what is this thing called Synergic MIG Welding? Well, it's a simple term, and I guess manufacturers thought this up because synergic means they link the wire speed and the voltage, the heat. So the more wire you feed into it, it also automatically adjusts your heat to increase, and vice versa. Now, Synergic MIG Welding is defined differently with every manufacturer. All of them do it a little bit different. All right, now when I first tried out this MIG, I was welding on a air cleaner project, some very thin metal, and I could not get the dang thing adjusted. I could not get it zeroed in worth a hoot. And I was at the point where I was going to buy another MIG that only had the 2 knobs. You only had wire speed and heat, and that was it. But after a YouTuber told me about what Synergic welding was, and after 18 minutes, I never understood what he said. He was certainly giving the textbook the example. Unfortunately, I didn't have the textbook. So now Synergic welding is simply the connecting of these 2 controls. If you turn up the wire speed, it turns up the heat by a certain amount to match the fact that you're going to be, you need more heat with your weld. Turn it down the other way, does the same thing. And that's all it does. That's all Synergic means. The Synergic welding feature is on by default. And this turns it off. And I didn't know what the switch did, because I didn't know what SYN/MAN meant. But it means Synergic welding or manual welding. Well, being old school like I am, or just being old, period, I prefer having it off, which is, it's odd to me that this control has to light up to be off, but it does, because the default is on. But once I had a heck of a time operating this welder. I was blowing holes in real thin sheet metal quite a bit, and I really had a hard time getting a good spot weld without burning a hole. And then if you try to, in a good MIG welder, you can go back and you can fix the holes you've blown, but this one, I just seemed to make them worse. Anyway, after I figured out what this control did and I turned it on, it did a good job. The meter, it was like a whole different MIG, because the heat and the wire speed were independently adjustable. And that's what I was looking for. And so I was able to get pretty good welds after that. And I'm still getting the hang of this MIG. But I'm much more satisfied with it now than I ever was. So if you're looking at a welder, I've seen some inexpensive ones that there's no way to turn off the Synergic MIG welding feature. It's on all the time. And I would never buy one that has it set up that way. Now, if you're used to Synergic welding, and if you're a better welder than I am and more familiar with that feature, maybe that's okay. But just be aware of that feature, and there will be a time, I'm sure, when you will want to disable the Synergic welding feature. The Synergic welding is supposed to be an aid to beginning welders. Well, I'm not real sure about that. Anyway, that's my discussion on Synergic welding. I prefer it off, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Does your welder have a Synergic welding feature, and can you turn it off? And how do you prefer to dial in your welder? Lots of questions, and this is just my experience. Your mileage may vary, and actually, I hope your mileage works out better than mine, because I blew a lot of holes right out of the gate with my MiG 200. All right, well, that's going to do it for this trip here in the Shade Tree Garage, where it's getting cool quickly. I just shut off my heat so you could hear me talking. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for the Shade Tree Garage. I hope you have a great holiday, and we'll be back with another update on the 56 Plymouth. Getting some more body work done, and I've got to go back and fine tune it. Anyway, please leave your comments about Synergic welding and what you think about it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and please ring the bell so you'll get updates whenever I post more content here. Well, guys, give me your perspective on Synergic welding. Are you experienced with it? Do you enjoy it, or do you turn it off like I do? I probably turn it off because I'm used to not having it, and really have never gotten accustomed to using that feature on your MIG welder. Anyway, if you have a comment, please leave it below. And in the meantime, you guys enjoy the time with your family. Get out of the garage for a little while, and then see what Santa brings you under the tree. All right, well, thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you again soon here in the Shade Tree Garage. Merry Christmas.